Last night, the Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach. Using his full and proper legal authority, President Trump imposed universal tariffs and reciprocal tariffs on Liberation Day to address the extraordinary threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. With Congress returning next week, it's critical that Senate Republicans maintain the momentum and quickly pass the One Big Beautiful Bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill will truly make America safe and prosperous. The One Big Beautiful Bill includes the largest border security investment ever. That's why the law enforcement groups are lining up to encourage its swift passage. The National Fraternal Order of Police, the largest police union in the country, just endorsed key provisions of the bill. The FOP president announced their strong support, saying the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is more than legislation. It is a promise kept to the public safety officers across the country and a bold step toward an economy that respects, rewards, and uplifts the people who keep it safe. And the National Border Patrol Council, which represents nearly 20,000 Border Patrol agents, hailed the legislation as well. The group's president said this legislation provides a once-in-a-generation investment in the border security of our great country and will make America safer. The One Big Beautiful Bill will guarantee we can permanently have the safest, strongest, and most secure immigration system in American history. I also want to take the opportunity to debunk some false claims that have been circulating in the press about this bill. The blatantly wrong claim that the One Big Beautiful Bill increases the deficit is based on the Congressional Budget Office and other scorekeepers who use shoddy assumptions and have historically been terrible at forecasting across Democrat and Republican administrations alike. For example, just before Congress enacted the original Trump tax cuts at the end of 2017, the same CBO projected that growth would average a mere 1.9% over the next 10 years. However, by 2019, actual growth had surged to 3.4% once the Trump tax cuts went into effect, exceeding the CBO forecast by nearly 2 full percentage points. The CBO's latest forecast makes the same anemic growth assumptions as they did in 2017, missing the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill. The CBO assumes long-term GDP growth of an anemic 1.8%, and that is absurd. The American economy is going to boom like never before after the One Big Beautiful Bill is passed. The largest middle-class tax cut in history, massive deregulation, and the most aggressive domestic energy exploration ever will fuel small businesses, further boost private investment, increase workers' wages, and supercharge economic growth.
President Trump was asked what he thought about Elon Musk's claim that the Big Beautiful Bill increases the budget deficit and undermines the work of DOJ, and the president didn't actually comment on those remarks. He just talked about the need to support the bill. So what does the president think about what Elon Musk said?
Well, the president is very proud of the One Big Beautiful Bill, and he wants to see it pass. He wants the Senate to get to work on it and send it to his desk as quickly as possible. Of course, as you know, Elon Musk announced last night his departure as an official special government employee from the Trump administration. We thank him for his service. We thank him for getting DOJ off of the ground, and the efforts to cut waste, fraud, and abuse will continue.
So he doesn't have any comment about Musk saying it adds to the deficit and it undermines all his work?
The president commented on this. I commented on it. I told you that this bill saves $1.6 trillion according to the Council of Economic Advisors and the analyses that the president believes in.
Is the administration actively reviewing other avenues, other options to carry out the president's trade policy?
The president's trade policy will continue. We will comply with the court orders, but yes, the president has other legal authorities where he can implement tariffs. However, it does not dispute the fact that the president was right to declare a national emergency when it came to fentanyl and when it came to our crippling deficits and the lack of critical supply chains here at home. That is the reasoning for the president's tariffs. And the court didn't dispute those facts, by the way. And there have been other courts that have reaffirmed the president's position. In fact, a ruling in federal court earlier this month shows that the administration is in the right, said we will win on appeal. A federal district judge in Florida ruled that IEEPA, in fact, does grant the president the authority to unilaterally impose tariffs. And 20 years ago, I will add, they are not a court, the New York Times editorial board responded to the January 2005 trade deficit of $58.3 billion by writing an editorial entitled Dangerous Deficits. And since then, our trade deficit has more than doubled. The trade deficit in January totaled a whopping $131.4 billion. So people on both sides of the aisle, pundits, Lawyers, legal scholars, politicians have all agreed that it is a national emergency, our trade deficits and our lack of critical supply chains here at home. It's just President Trump was the first president to actually act on it, to restore that wealth and that prosperity to the United States of America. And it's very unfortunate that the courts are now blocking his attempts to do that.
The Fed says the president met with the Fed chair earlier today. I'm wondering if you can give us any readout of that meeting. The Fed also says that they discussed the economy. I imagine the president might have shared views on rates as well, but what can you
Sure.
share with us?
I can share with you that we saw, the president and I both saw the statement that the Fed put out after the meeting. That statement is correct. However, the president did say that he believes the Fed chair is making a mistake by not lowering interest rates, which is putting us at an economic disadvantage to China and other countries. And the president's been very vocal about that, both publicly and now I can reveal privately as well.
Did he speak at all about his plans for that position, but whether he would seek to move Jay Powell out of that position or keep him in until his term ends? Okay,
Kristen.
ask very quickly on the tariff question. You mentioned Section 232 earlier. Are you suggesting that you might sort of speed up some of the existing 232 investigations? Or are you talking potentially using 232 as a replacement power if this ruling doesn't go your way? Of course, you hope it does.
I'm not suggesting that. I'm just simply stating the fact that the president has other legal authorities he can use to implement tariffs, and the administration is willing to use those. As you know, we already have applied Section 232 tariffs on specific industries.